peace. Be a part of the Salam BCR team. Salam BCR. Your community, your radio. Get involved.
Assalamu alaikum people, welcome back to Salam BCR 412, and my guest is back with me after the break. Assalamu alaikum Talat.
Wa alaikum salam.
I hope you the break sufficed for you to...
Yes, I did my asr very quickly as well. So.
Fantastic. Talat, industry has moved on in the last few years, and COVID was another one that had a massive effect. I remember, from the times of when we were there in the late 80s, you wouldn't even rustle a paper on the table, and now you have microphones, you have cameras, you have everything in a radio studio. So you've obviously seen that change, that transformation.
Yeah, it's really interesting because back in the day, we were always, one, you had to speak properly. Two, as a journalist, you don't hold any opinions. So when you're presenting a program, it's not about you, it's about the story only. But things have changed. Now they're saying, you can add a bit more personality to your program. You can get away with gentle opinions, nothing heavy. It's all about, playing devil's advocate. And you're right, rustling of paper and any unnecessary noise and all that was very strict. But now it's a different ball game, different social media, your Facebook Live, you have cameras in the studio. So it's more organic, it's more free and more relaxed, I think, compared to perhaps what it was back in the day, which was a little bit more stuffy.
Just to claim a first, we here at Salam BCR, we did during COVID, we did a very first, which nobody had done, commercial radios or community radios. We did a first play reading, a theatre play via Zoom, professional play, which a chap from Manchester had written and performed. They performed it on stage. It was just a two-hander.
Amazing.
So we had he was directing from his house. The actress was in her house. The actor was in his house, and we performed that. It was the very first one during that time. So Skype and Zoom, they've been a massive kind of like not an invention, but they came to the fore.
Yes, it certainly did, because for us, it's like even now when you said, it's on Skype, I thought I better put on a clean shirt then. But it's one of those, isn't it, where it's not just through the mic, but it's also you have your cameras now. So we're quite thankful because it's made our lives easy, because we can then have access to all sorts of guests around the world who can connect via Zoom or Skype, and it's or Microsoft Teams or whichever platform you prefer to use, and it's opened the world up.
Yes.
And I think that's really amazing, because back in the day, it would be a lot of research, finding the contact, making the contact, writing to them, and then eventually then emailing, and then to set up guests and set up programs was quite difficult. And you would need a proper week to prepare for it. But now it's a little bit more freer, where you can have access to people via their social medias and connect and then arrange your interviews. And, through that, we've managed to speak to all sorts of interesting artists from South Asia that we have, we can have access to. And that's thanks to the new media platforms that we have. So it really has changed.
Absolutely. I know you have to leave in a few moments, and that's really fine. Just finally, okay, it's 4:16 is the time now, and politics, Mr. Rishi Sunak.
Well, politics apart, I mean, I know people will always say, he represents this, and it's, Labour will say, well, he's Tory, and they've already, created havoc in the economy. But for me, ultimately, I think, just seeing a brown face.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
A prime minister who's from Asian descent.
Yes.
is good enough.
Yes.
Apart from all the politics and apart from how things are, and
Mm.
we know that,
Yes.
we understand that.
Yes.
By whatever means he happens to have got to
Got
that
there.
position,
Yes.
we know that's not all positive. But the very fact that you can see a person of my color
Mm.
as the prime minister is amazing, and it's
Absolutely.
history. It's
Absolutely.
history, regardless of what we think about the ins and outs.
Yes.
That's what you've got to look at.
Yes.
That did we ever think in my time? I used to think up story ideas, and one of the stories was how we had our first Asian prime minister through whatever means. It was a long-winded story that I had in my head. I thought, I should write that story down, and actually, he's beaten me to it because I don't need to write about that. It's going to be nothing unusual now.
Well,
So
sorry. What year would it have been? 2006, 2007, 2007. While we were renovating the original place we were at,
yeah.
I did exactly the same. But I actually wrote the storyline. It's in episodic form.
Right. Okay. I wasn't that clever, I'm afraid.
Well, being in the field, basically. So you're thinking of the format, how it would be, coming from one place to the other. And this was again an Asian person that becomes the prime minister. How it ends is another story.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was the right wing were really taking hold of the country,
Yes.
and somehow through the ranks, we had this Asian leader who came through and became prime minister.
Yes.
In amongst all the odds of these hard right-wing fascists, and so it was a story around that. But like with all good stories, they remain in your head unless you put it down on paper.
Exactly.
So,
But finally, it's taken 75 years since the Brits left India, Pakistan, whatever it was. It was India then, totally as
Indian
it was.
subcontinent.
To reverse the whole thing, being ruled by
by an Indian. Yeah, that's it. And that's you've seen lots of things probably on social media coming through about that fact.
Yes,
that,
yes,
you
yes.
have after all those years of British rule,
Absolutely.
across parts of the world.
Yes.
And now we see an Asian prime minister who's there was a funny sketch somewhere. He said, and they reverted him into the Indian accent and said, right, well, now we're going to sell Britain to India. As all good shopkeepers would do.
Yes. Yes.
So, but I think it's amazing, and I think for everyone, this is something they should feel proud of.
Absolutely.
Forget the politics for the moment.
Yes.
That it's an Asian person, a brown person who's leading the country.
Indeed.
And that, to me, is wonderful.
Fantastic.
And hopefully they'll sort out the mess that we're in. And, the cost of living and the crisis that we're in will hopefully get better through whichever government comes. But just, relish that moment, of having an Asian prime minister.
So it's been fantastic. I wish we could have gone longer, but I know you have to go.
I'd love to have spoken longer. Happy to have done.
No, that's fine.
But the reason why I have to go, and this is something of interest for all you out there, is Manchester Museum. They're opening a South Asia gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And that South Asian gallery is dedicated to the communities here in the Northwest, and it'll have artifacts, objects that belong to people from the community on display in the museum, in this specially dedicated section of the museum.
Brilliant.
So it's a meeting about the new gallery, and I have my great-grandfather's army uniform on display there.
Whoa.
Hopefully when it opens up next year.
Yeah.
And so we're all local curators for the museum, and
Fantastic.
so it's a meeting to come and see how far they've developed, and that's why I have to rush. Otherwise I would have happily spoken for longer.
No, my friend, I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful for you giving your time, especially with the kids being home as well. So lovely. Yeah. Thank you very much. And as I said previously, I've asked you before, if ever any people come along that want to do some volunteering, please send them. It doesn't matter who they are. There's no, as you said, open door policy. It'd be gratefully
Absolutely.
Appreciated.
Well,
and once again, Talat, wish you all the best, my friend. And
thank you so much for inviting me.
All the very
I really
best.
appreciate it. It's nice to be interviewed for a change.
Take care.
As opposed to the other way around.
All the best. All the best.
And you have longer as well. That's a plus point. All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Wish you
Bye
all
bye.
the best.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you.
जी मेरे प्यारे बहन भाई, so that was